Hi, this is Daniel Hutchins, and today we're going to be doing a Marvel Insider check-in. So today's Marvel Insider check-in is the Marvel Insider check-in of 1/22/21. Okay, so right now I'm still a level elite. I have 44,346 points and 181,404 points. And the last time I signed on was the 19th. Okay, so here we go. So how this works is I'm going to try to do some articles. I read them to you, and then so you kind of know what I'm kind of going from. Okay, so first we're going to be doing an article about WandaVision. Okay, so this was hot off the truck today. WandaVision, Deborah Jo Rupp talks figuring out what's going on and being sworn into secrecy. Okay, so this new series is now on Disney Plus, and Deborah Jo Rupp is not your typical Marvel Cinematic Universe star. Prior to her role in Marvel's WandaVision, playing Mrs. Hart, she had seen a grand total of 0 MCU movies, but was vaguely aware that Robert Downey Jr. was somehow involved in them, exclaiming, "I really liked him, but now after joining the ever-expanding universe in WandaVision, it might be hard for her to step away from it, because according to her, filming this series was one of the most things she's ever done." Well, that's good. But following the release of the first 2 episodes of WandaVision on Disney Plus, Marvel.com talked to Rupp about how she came to that role, what the fabulous costumes were like, even though viewers are only seeing them in black and white, if she had any idea what's going on in Westview. Okay, so this is basically just an interview. I'm just gonna read it though. So, okay. Marvel.com had asked, "Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Did you ever think you would be joining it, let alone on a project like WandaVision?" She said, "I didn't know what the show was. So honestly, I didn't know what it was. I had no idea, absolutely no idea. This Marvel thing is gigantic. Just gigantic. It's also full of nice people, which makes it even better." Marvel asked, "Were you approached for the role, and did you even know what you were auditioning for? What did you know before it started?" She said, "I was called by director Matt Shakman for the role. He knew me from theater though, and I had worked at his theater for a time period of a few years ago. 2 years ago, to be more exact. He said that they wanted someone who was familiar with sitcoms," which she was, "and could also do some drama. So I was just very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time." Marvel said, "And what was your exposure to the MCU before WandaVision? Have you ever seen any of the movies? I know you're a huge comic fan." She said 0. "I thought that I was, but look at my age. It's like I didn't grow up with it or anything. I thought it was a cartoon. I knew that there were Marvel comic books because I could see that in my head, but I hadn't read them. I knew nothing." She knew absolutely nothing. She knew that Robert Downey Jr. was in something because I really liked him. And then my great-nephew Johnny said, "Aunt Debbie, if you don't do this," because I was saying, "Oh, I don't know if it's the cartoon thing." I had been working and traveling a lot. I kept going, "Oh, I don't know." And he went, "Aunt Debbie, if you don't do this, I'll never speak to you again." Then I thought, oh, well, maybe I should look into this. And then it was like, boom, boom, done. I'm so happy that I made the decision that I've made. Marvel said, "Considering how secretive Marvel is, when you started filming the first episode, filmed before a live studio audience, did you know what was happening at all? Or were you just like, we're a sitcom husband and wife, you and Mr. Hart?" She said, "No, I knew well when the director called me, and Jack Schaefer, the executive producer and head writer, when they called me, they said, 'It's weird, Deb. We'll try to explain it, though.' So they tried to explain it. I understood none of it, but I heard a sitcom and went, well, I know I can do that. Okay, I'll do it." She understood nothing, and when she got there, I just kept asking questions. Finally pieced some stuff together. My stuff, and then, Matt was ever patient. So patient because I kept going, what? You want me to do what? Well, why would I be doing that, man? So he's very patient, and finally I got in my head, and then it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. It was so fun, it's doing two things at once. It was the best. Marvel asked, and the first episode is shot completely in front of a live studio audience, which is something you have done before. What past experience did you bring to the role of WandaVision? She said, well, sitcoms are generally 3 or 4 cameras, not one. And she said that I'm pretty good at knowing where the camera is, where I need to stand and how I need to clear for someone else. I have all that pretty much down, but so the mechanics are there for me. I don't have to think about that as much. I just get to act and be funny and look pretty in 50s clothing. Okay, so Marvel said, and speaking of 50s clothing, it's all amazing. Everything I've seen, your costumes, the first 2 episodes. Could you speak a little bit more about your costumes, like something the viewers didn't see because the episodes are completely black and white? She said, well, the dress is the most beautiful sea blue. It's 2 pieces, but it's just beautiful. Like a silk fabric. I think it was silk. I'm not really good at fabrics, but I don't know when it feels good. And the thing that you don't see in the corset thing that I had to wear that ties you in. And it was so tight. And then there was some kind of petticoat slip thing under. There were a lot of undergarments, and it kept being layer and layer and layer. But once you get it all on and get put together, you feel like you're in the 50s. You physically feel like you're in the 50s. And then the hat was to die for. Then you put the hat on and you're there. You're golden. I mean, you can't mess that up because you got the hat and I loved it. Marvel said, and I just want to back to the studio audience for a second because you are a veteran of that, but Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are not. Did you give them any sort of pointers, or did you come to that kind of how do you do this with the cameras? She said, no, I think they're very comfortable with the acting part of it. I think the unknown for them was the audience that you can't really prepare someone for that. They just have to experience it, but I have found the most actors, when they get the first laugh, forget that they were gone. They are in heaven, and I think that's what happened. Marvel said, you are not the only Westview resident in episode 2. Don't touch that dial. We see everyone together for the first time. Did you all become friends? All Westview residents trying to figure out what's happening from the show, or just trading theories about what you think might be happening? She said, no, there was no theory trade, and I think that they were so terrified of don't say anything. Sign your name here. We were terrified. I remember Catherine Hahn talking to me, and she went, oh, wait, do you know what's going on? And I went, no, it's okay. I know what's going on. And she went, oh, good. We were all just nervous about keeping the secrets. But look how it pays off. Watching it is a whole different thing to me. It's like watching a show that I know nothing about. It's so different in black and white because things become more important. And then when the little moments that I know about, I read the script but I paid no attention to, and now all of a sudden they're blinking and now they're moving or something. It's like, it's great. It's great. So now you can catch up with her on WandaVision, which is on Disney Plus. Okay, so there you go, guys. That is just the interview about that actress playing on WandaVision. Okay, so I knew that was kind of a long one, so I'm going to try to do some other activities, of course, not just stick just to one thing. I want to kind of spread it out. Okay, so we are going to go to Seoul, and of course okay. So the time check right now is 10 minutes. So we are now talking about new Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Funkos swing onto the shelves. Okay, so Be Greater, Be Yourself Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is available for PlayStation 5 now. Okay, so if you've seen the game, you can pick up one for yourself from your local stores. And as part of the week-long Funko Fair celebration, they did their new set of Spider-Man Pops, which are swinging this way based on the looks from this blockbuster game. While Miles' iconic and striking red and black suit is seen throughout the game, it's not the only one he uses as he travels through Marvel New York. And since you know it should be chilly in New York this time of year, you can find Miles in his winter suit, complete with his hat and earmuffs, both upright and swinging upside down. Yep, so you can find all new Funkos in the gallery below, and you could also find them at GameStop and Hot Topic. If you're looking for more to add to your collection already, you can find some more new Marvel Pops right here. So the Funko Fair had a couple different Miles Morales Pops. So you have the Miles Morales Classic, you have the Miles Morales Strike Suit, you have the Miles Morales Bodega Cat Suit, you got the Miles Morales Track Suit, then you have the Miles Morales 2020 Suit, the Miles Morales Crimson Cowl Suit, the Miles Morales Programmable Metal Suit, you got the Miles Morales Winter Suit, the Miles Morales Purple Rain, and you have some other exclusive ones. You have the Miles Morales Programmable Suit, the Miles Morales Winter Suit upside down, and yeah, so those are all your different Pop Funkos that you can find for Miles Morales. So if you're a huge fan of Pop Funkos, then that article I just read is the right article for you. Okay, so now on another note, I am going to probably find another article. Okay, so if we could ever find something good, since I talked about WandaVision and I talked about Miles Morales Pop Funkos. Okay, so next thing we are going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about Spider-Man. Okay, so you could actually watch the Tom Holland reprises his role as Peter Parker in Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, which is coming to Avengers Campus at Disneyland Resort. Of course, I'm just going to read you the information, and it actually is really cool. So, if you plan to visit the Worldwide Engineering Brigade in the future or in the web, as the kids call it, you're going to be familiar. See a familiar face you know from around the tech workshop when Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, opens at Disneyland Resort. Tom Holland is set to reprise his role as Peter Parker, with this attraction joining guests on a mission to stop some pesky spider bots that are running loose from the facility. Now, the spider bots are designed to be robotic sidekicks, capable of building anything a superhero might need. But when Peter's demonstration goes sideways, the spider bots are stuck in a replication loop, creating even more spider bots. But what happens next? That's where Peter recruits you to help him stop him. Find out what Holland had to say about joining this attraction himself from the video below. Okay, but of course there are many different tweets on Twitter from Spider-Man, and the Web Swinger Spider-Man adventure will have guests donning 3D glasses to board the Web Swinger vehicle and discover web swinging superpowers. The Those specially designed innovative technology that recognizes body movements and gestures, guests will be able to reach out their hands and swing webs from their wrists, just like Spider-Man. And as the web swinger vehicle's progress, guests will virtually pass through several other campus addresses, including Pym Test Kitchen, Avengers Headquarters, and Collector's Fortress, also home to Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. But as this mission continues, spider bots will become harder and harder to beat as they continue to multiply, all but in a day's work for Peter Parker. Web Swinger Spider-Man Adventure is just one of the many addresses found inside Avengers Campus, an entirely new land dedicated to discovering, recruiting, and training the next generations of heroes at Disney California Adventure Park, set to open at a top secret date. But you could be on the lookout for more updates about from #Avengers Campus, and you can learn about the land, the merchandise, the food and beverage offerings. You just go to Marvel.com, check out this article, and you can let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments below my video. Okay, so I figured that would be pretty exciting. So, time check, we are 16 minutes. Almost going on 17 minutes, actually. Okay, so we're going to be doing one more activity, and then I'm going to wrap this up. And then I might make another video later in the night, or sometime maybe even tomorrow. But we just have to see. Okay, so we are going to find something, of course. But we just have to find the right things. Okay, of course they updated Marvel Insider, so that's no biggie. But like I said, it's just finding some material that actually is interesting for y'all. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Now the last activity I'm going to do in this Marvel Insider check-in is about the Eternals. So evil rises again from the Eternals #1. The Eternals have returned from the grave and they're not alone. Okay, there's a video down below that, but then warning, this article contains spoilers for Eternals #1, so read on your own risk, true believers. Okay, so a little bit of history, okay? So since 1976, Jack Kirby's Eternals have played a vital role for the Marvel Universe. But for the last 2 years, the Eternals have had a slight cause of death in Avengers #4. All the Eternals destroyed themselves when they realized that they were never truly chosen of the Celestials. Instead, the cosmic space gods favored humanity all along, and Eternals were only meant to cultivate and protect mankind. But the knowledge-driven mad, the heroic Icarus was the last of his kind before he too passed. But of course, to be an Eternal means having new immortality and cosmic powers. But the Eternals are no strangers to death. This is not the first occasion the Eternals have fallen, but it's now time for them to live again. Okay, so that's all well and good, I guess, for them. So this week, there's some writers and some artists that are literally bringing it back for Eternals #1. They're bringing the race back from the dead, and because Icarus was the last to die, he was also the last to live again. Okay, so that's a little bit odd, but okay, so Icarus doesn't get very long to celebrate his newfound resurrection before he communes with Zurus, a prime Eternal and leader from his people. With Zurus' command, Icarus reluctantly frees Sprite, a childlike Eternal who is cursed and never aged beyond the body of an 11-year-old child. Okay, so that's a little bit weird. So then you got some pictures below. And this was somewhat ironic though, since Zurus himself murdered Sprite in Eternals 2006 #7, that was just from retaliation for Sprite wiping the minds of his people and scattering them across the world in new lives. Understandably, Akira still carries a grudge towards Sprite, who is now female, but swapping genders is apparently not an unusual thing for Eternals. Sprite is not the only one whose physical body was drastically changed during the newest wave of resurrections. So Sprite quickly travels back to the scene of the crime, so to speak, New York City. However, Sprite doesn't seem to remember the actions of her previous incarnation when confronted by Akiris. She doesn't exactly show remorse, but Sprite does suggest that she must have been very bored to make such an attempt to escape her own destiny. Okay, so you kind of figures that, but then their intimate moment is broken up by the arrival of Tony Stark, Iron Man, one of the last two people to see Akiris alive before his previous death. After Akiris assures Tony that his people have recovered, Iron Man tellingly asks them to see Sersi. In the mid-90s, Sersi was the second Eternal to join the Avengers, after Eros, aka we know as Star Fox. She proved to be a very valuable member to the team, and Stark suggested that Sersi should give him a call, although she was absent from this issue, though. Okay, so that's alright. So, before leaving New York, Akiris and Sprite have a bond experience by teaming up against a deviant who is menacing innocent humans from within the sewers. Much like the Eternals themselves, the Deviants were created by experiments of the Celestials eons ago, but they tend to be more dangerous than the Eternal counterparts, and for perhaps the first time, Akiris and Sprite seem to enjoy each other's companies. Okay, that's all good, so there's another picture below. And the good times only last until they return to Olympia, the home of the Eternals. In their absence, someone murdered Zigzaurus, someone very, very powerful, although suspicion quickly falls onto Sprite. Akiris is more unnerved by the fact that Zurus' killer had to be Eternal in order to travel through the displacement network. Together, Akiris and Sprite follow the killer's trial to Titanos, the Eternal's ancestral home, before coming face to face with the culprit, Thanos. Okay, so there's a picture of Thanos below, and it's in bold white letters that says "To be continued." So this is very, very, very bad news for the Marvel Universe. Given Thanos' status as one of the most dangerous villains of all time, it's easy to forget that he too is an Eternal. Thanos comes from the Eternals that lived on Titan. He was last seen in Guardians of the Galaxy number 6, following the flawed resurrection that left the Mad Titan in the shadow of his former self. More recently, from the Thor number 6 of the King of Asgard, was given a vision of his own demise by the Black Winter. Thor saw Marvel's most courageous heroes transformed into zombies, while Thanos wielded the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir itself. It's kind of crazy. So if Thanos truly lives again, his full power restored, Thor's date with Destiny may be closer than we might likely to believe. But in the meantime, Akiris and Sprite are going to have their hands full when Eternals 2 hits comic book stores on Wednesday, February the 10th. And you can pick up your books at the local comic book store. So be sure to ask your comic book store about your current business policies to observe for social distancing and other services they may offer. So you can also check out comicbooklocator.com, or you go to http://marvel.com/love-comic-shops. For digital comic purchases, they can be read on the Marvel Comics app on iPhone, iPads, and Android devices. So there you go, guys. That is all your information you are being get today for the Marvel Insider check-in. So I hope you enjoyed this content, and you guys have a nice day. And I might see you guys for some more videos tomorrow. So okay. Make sure you hit a thumbs up if you like my video, and be sure to subscribe. Bye.